and welcome back to part 24 of Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, where today we've got a very bulky video for you. My intention when I was recording this session was no matter what, get the next dungeon of the game, Yoyogi Park, done. Because Yoyogi Park's one of my least favourite dungeons. I've never really clicked with it, I don't really enjoy it. Like, I enjoy the idea of it, I just don't like the execution. It feels like a lot of time wasting to get through it. So I was like, get it all done. So I started the recording and I was like, I am not stopping until I have done it. But I get sidetracked almost immediately, because if you go on your way to Yoyogi Park through the new path in Asakusa, there's the collector mannequin who's opened up shop and you can buy free Magatamas from him. Look at the price of them. So I immediately say, no, I don't want to leave these here to get later. I want to get them ASAP. What's the best way to get them ASAP, other than maybe selling the spyglass, which I do consider. You can see I sit on it for a while, I debate it, but eventually steer off. Remember when I was talking about the second Kalpa, the Labyrinth of Amala, where I said there's an optional path, but if you've managed to get through it all early, which is extremely difficult to do, your reward is 250,000 marker. So yeah, I beeline for that. I take the risk, so I go all the way to the second Kalpa of the Labyrinth of Amala, all the way down to B2 in this corner, and tank this room. Your best bet is to bring as many repulse spells or Estoma skills as possible, and if you can, bring any demon that has access to a smoke ball like skill, like a get out of jail free card based skill. If you're looking for your easy pick, which I don't have in my party at this point, but I get him later because he becomes really helpful later, your best bet is on the first Kalpa. As soon as you enter the main room, break a right, go to the Shady Broker, or the Shady Dealer, talk to him, buy the demon off him. The demon you'll buy off him on the first Kalpa is one that is entirely built around avoiding these situations. Like, it's a demon that has, like, lowers encounter rate, makes it so you don't touch the floor, makes it so it'll light up areas, and it has, like, makes it so you can leave battles guaranteed. If you can get that demon, go for it. It costs a little bit, but grinding a little bit for that, for your reward for 250k, is more than worth it. But this reward will only be here until the cursed floor disappears, because it's all cursed room. And it's a certain event later on that will result in the curse disappearing, because you do actually have to go through here mandatorily later, but they get rid of the cursed floor when you have to manually actually go through here properly. And as you'll see by this first encounter, the enemies here are from far later in the game. Some of these enemies are in the mid-70s in levels, which is why they're so dangerous and so difficult. And why we're having to expend a lot of MP to just get through it. Which is why it's so heavily recommended that you bring a smoke ball-like demon, or a demon that has that skill, because then you can try and power through it. Also, this thing has Retaliate, which is like the middle level version of Counter. There's 3 versions of Counter in Nocturne. There's Counter, Retaliate, and Avenge. Counter is lowish chance, does low damage. Retaliate is midish chance, midish damage. Avenge is like borderline every single physical attack that comes your way you respond to, and it's heavy. I've got Avenge on Demi-Fiends now, but it was after I beat the game, when I was just grinding up levels and whatnot, I picked it up. But if you make it all the way here, which I cut to doing, because it didn't take too long, there's 250,000 marker you'll be given from this demon. Now, you just got to get back out. But we are 250k up, so that is very appreciated. On your way out, though, it's easier to get out. You can see on the map, there's a lot of one-way doors that allow you to cut corners. Essentially, when you're doing the spiral and going through that room, don't go through any side door. Go to the very end of every corridor, and then when that's door there, open that one. If you take any side doors, they're shortcuts to get back, and they're one-way doors, so you'll just screw yourself. But with that money, I buy the other 2 Magatamas from this shop, and then kind of burn the rest a little on getting 99 chakra drops. Which I don't even use 99. I think I use like another 11 throughout the course of the game. For a long while. Because later on we get an item that's like a free chakra drop, but you can only use it in battle. Like just before the final dungeon. Also, as I was on my way through, I picked up Endure. And so finally get rid of Tornado because it run out of its run out of its helpfulness, run out of usefulness. Endure is something that is really nice to have on your protagonist, because endurance is attack that would kill, you'll survive one time. So your HP will just stop on 1 from an attack that would kill. It's kind of like a once more in Kingdom Hearts. Like the first time round, an attack that would kill will not. But it's not like in Kingdom Hearts where if you restore your health, it resets the chance. No, endurance is once per fight. But it will work even if you start a fight on 1 HP. So if you start a fight on 1 HP and get hit, you might just take 0 damage from it on the first hit. But only the first hit. But endurance is just really nice to have. And I kind of like walk around and talk to people here, but there's really not that much here other than pressing on to the next dungeon. Because before we actually get to Yoyogi Park, the second thing that ended up making this video super long, other than the fact I got distracted at first, was the fact that there's actually like a mini dungeon before Yoyogi, and I completely forgot about it because there's no bosses in it. It's pretty short. There's not that much in terms of loot for it. It's just a dungeon that's there to bridge the gap from where we are to where we need to be. Because Yoyogi Park, if you recall, is right next to the Shinjuku Medical Center. We need to be able to access it from the other side, so we need to get to that part of the world map again. But Asakusa is clearly not there. We're quite far away from it, so they need to find a way of making it so you move from the zone we're in, like the west zone of the Vortex world, to the zone that Yoyogi Park is in. So instead of like cheaping out and doing like a basic tunnel or anything like that, no, they made like a mini dungeon to go in between. But it's like, it really is just a mini dungeon that's just there. What do you think you're trying to accomplish? Actually, I have no idea. Can't you believe in yourself? Oh, and that's the end of the conversation? Oh, okay. And you're just going to boost your physical attack? I think I barely get any angels or demons to join my party on this playthrough. It just crossed my mind a second ago. I was like, hang on, do I ever actually get any angels? And I think I get like 2. I really don't recruit any angels. Oh, that spirit, it says, what the hell's a Kimon? That's your hint to remember for later. Later on, we'll get a Kimon stone. And the moment you get it, your mind should hopefully come back to here, because there's a temple here with a seal that's blocking you from getting in. But because that spirit there mentioned Kimon, when you get Kimon Stone, that's your hint that you should probably come back to that bit. But you got to remember that, because that's an obscure little thing to remember. But here's the Asakusa Tunnel, which is that mini dungeon I was on about. And like I said, it isn't that big, and I completely forgot about it. It's more there to foreshadow that Butcher Mannequin is also heading towards Yoyogi Park, so we're probably going to encounter him. Sakahaki. I think that's his name. And there's also a repulse spell up here, which is nice. So you can turn off, or lower encounters till the next new moon. Yeah, literally, this dude's a butcher. Any other mannequin he shows up on, he just destroys. But like the last station dungeon, there is a lot of dark zones. And you can see I super overstocked on float balls and light balls for a while. So we're in no danger. But if this isn't like the last tunnel, there isn't a boss fight in here. Like, you don't fight the geese. You don't fight anything really special. It's just basic encounters, a couple items of loot, but it's not that big. And you work your way through. And I think the reason why I forget about it so much, other than the fact it's so short, is because of the fact it's right before Yoyogi. And because Yoyogi is just such a significant dungeon to me because of how much I don't really click with it. I think that's the only way to put it. It is a good dungeon fundamentally. It's just I personally don't really jive well with it. It's just never really been one that I enjoy going through. Especially because some of the enemies there are really annoying. Also, these guys are normal enemies now, so, you know, the Mudun champs that destroyed me annoyingly last time, yeah, they're here normal now. We've got to that part in the game where they're going to start showing up naturally. So every single time they they show up, I worry. Like, at this point, I even debated fog breathing, just in case they do Mudun, just to make it a better chance of me living. But I've got Miragi dying, so I just push for that and get the kill. Miragi Dine is kind of like the only tier 3 fire spell I have for a while. Later on, I do clean it up when it starts to get more significant, but I kind of just ride out having the tier 2s for probably longer than I should have. You should be... Like, it's something that I can't recommend enough. It's really a do as I say, not as I do situation here, which I know is hypocritical, but stick with me. I don't fuse that much because I forget to. And it's something that bites me in the arse in, like, every Atlas title. I just forget to. I just get sidetracked with the adventure and the grind, and then it's only when my demons really start showing signs of falling behind, I go, oh yeah, right, and start fusing them off. But because it's not on the forefront of my mind, I forget to do negotiations a lot of the time as well, so I don't recruit that many demons. Far less than you probably should. And although I know exactly what demons I should be getting, to stand a better chance, so it's really not that bad, it still isn't recommended. You should be trying to experiment with new ideas, fuse new demons, negotiate with every new face you see, like things like that every chance you get to open up more and more options. I said it before, but I don't get debilitate at all in this playthrough. Because of the fact that I just keep on forgetting. It just doesn't. It's never at the forefront of my mind in any Atlas title. It's just a genuine weakness I have anytime I go through this. It just never crosses my mind to do it. The only time it's ever been something where I've consistently been able to keep on top of it and think about it is SMT4, because you have the fusion. You have access to the Cathedral of Shadows in the pause menu. You don't have to go to any place to do it. It's literally you press one button wherever you are and access it. It's one of my favourite things about 4, is just how much accessibility it has with mechanics. Because you can save absolutely anywhere in that game. As long as you're not in a fight, you can press the button, press save, and then you're just fine. It'll just let you do that. You can access the Cathedral of Shadows from the menu. They did this amazing thing in the Cathedral of Shadows, and it baffles me that it didn't come back in future Atlas titles. I say that it might come back in SMT5, but Persona 5 came out after SMT4 and 4 Apocalypse for that matter, and the fact that it doesn't have this feature is mind-boggling. In the SMT4 and Persona 3 introduced it, but after Persona 3 introduced it, every single other Megaton game adopted it. There's specialized fusions in later games, and specialized fusions where instead of saying, oh, here's 2 demons, fuse them together, here's what you get, it says this demon can be fused, but you have to offer 5 or 6 demons to make it. As in, Persona 3 was the one that kind of started it, where they do like 4-way, 5-way, all the way up to like 8-way fusions. I think they have a 12-way fusion as well in like Persona 4 or 5. And so you have to get 12 demons, all of them together, and then when you have all of them, you can fuse them to make that final one. But the biggest thing that makes it annoying in Persona that 4 fixed, but only SMT4 fixed, and the Persona series have never addressed it since, is that in the Persona games, it's not enough to have all the demons in your compendium for the fusion. You have to have every single one of them in your party, in your active roster. You have a limited amount of slots. Like in Nocturne, you get 2 more slots when you meet Gozo Tenno, and you get 2 more slots, your final 2, when you make it to the top of the obelisk. That's your limit of how many demons you can carry. If you try and negotiate and get another demon, you have to let one go. Which makes, when you add it to the addition of, it costs money to bring demons out of the compendium, and if they're strong, it costs a hell of a lot. Getting those specialized fusions can be extremely annoying. It can be very time consuming and very annoying. So in SMT4, they addressed it by it will just do a compendium check. It won't care if it's in your party or not. So it's a 10 demon fusion. Like you need 10 demons to bring to the table to make this one special one. You have 4 of them in your party and 6 of them aren't. It will just, you'll click on it and it says, oh, there's 6 demons for this fusion that are currently in your compendium. This is how much it would be to bring all of them out right now to do it. Do you want to just cut the middleman out and fuse and get them now? And you press yes, and they don't go into your slot, so you have to let go demons if you've got too many. It literally just puts them in like a separate pocket of you're fusing them off now anyway, so it doesn't matter. And it's so convenient that you just go to the demon you want, and it just compendium checks for you. And if you have them, it says this is how much they are to get everything out of the compendium. Do the fusion, and you say yeah, and that's it. I leave the last item box in this room because it's a trap, which is why I just shake my head at it and walk out. And it's something that they introduced that in 4, and it was in 4 and 4 Apocalypse. And it was so nice. It genuinely was so cool that they did it. I was like, that's such a brilliant quality of life thing. That should be in every Atlas title. Persona 5 then came out. Didn't have it. Went straight back to Persona 3 and 4 system. Or if you have to manually get them all out of the compendium and make sure you have the space in your lineup before you even do it. If you don't, you have to let something go or fuse it off first. Which becomes even more inconvenient if it ends up to be a demon / persona you actually already are using or like. Like, it just became awkward. And I can imagine, I hope so, that SMT5 will continue that trend of like what SMT4 did, of making it so you have that quick access compendium and that quick access Cathedral of Shadows. But I am aware that SMT5 seems to be borrowing more from 3 than 4, so as long as they have that convenience thing with the compendium, I'll be fine if you have to actually go find the Cathedral of Shadows again like you did in 3. Because it really feels like 5 is borrowing a lot from 3. Which isn't a bad thing, because 3 is the best one in my opinion. Also, we're done with the mini-dungeon. But, like, 3 is the best one in my opinion. It's why I'm glad I get to cover this now. But 4's really strong too, and I like what 4 did uniquely. Whilst, I'm super excited for 5, but it does look like, okay, yeah, you looked at Nocturne and went, let's do Nocturne. Let's do Nocturne with a fresh coat of paint. Which, like I said, is not a bad thing. Especially when they're trying to get more publicity on the SMT franchise. Doing what works is not a bad idea. It's what Persona 5 did. Persona 5, if you look in its development history, was originally going to be a very different game, and they eventually scrapped a lot of it and went back on their laurels. Originally, it was not going to be a JRPG. They wanted it to be more action-y, similar to what Scramble is now. They wanted it to have more of like an action flow to it, but eventually decided to backtrack and make it a turn-based JRPG again, which is why the game was delayed by like 4 years, because it originally was going to, and they got, from what I can tell, pretty far into development of making that more action-y focused one, before they decided to shift gears and make it turn-based again. But we're in the east side of Yoyogi Park, which will look familiar because I said we have been on the west side, like right near the start of the game, but now we actually get to do the journey because we'll get the key soon and be able to go through Yoyogi. When you're in the actual Yoyogi Park, if you go all the way to the opposite wall, you can unlock the door from the other side, so you can get access to the west side, which is the bit right next to the Shinjuku Medical Center. And because it's the land of the fairies, you're almost only getting fairy-based demons in this dungeon. So keep that in mind. Fairy-based demons are mostly status condition fuckers. Or healers. Which is a part of the reason why I don't like this dungeon, because it's all the annoying enemies are in here. The boss is also kind of annoying, and the fiend that we'll fight as we're done is one that I just don't find that interesting either. So it's all just kind of like a grey mark. But we've got a cutscene, so I'll shut up for now.
Nice to see you. I had a feeling you'd be here. I assume you know the reasons so many have gathered here. In this park lies a power that can change the world. While I have the chance, let me apologize for disappearing right after you rescued me. You can thank my goddess for that. Sometimes she just does as she pleases. Thanks to Hikawa and his obelisk, I ended up losing most of my power. But on the bright side, I now have a goddess to protect me. Guess every cloud has its silver lining. As for Hikawa, I will never let him use me again. And I won't let him be the one to shape the new world. What he envisions is a world where the thread of time is spun unerringly, without change. You can't call that a world. It's just wasted space, totally devoid of power. To restrain our unborn world like that would be a travesty. As the one responsible for the destruction of the old world, it is my duty to shape the new one. The world cannot remain in a state of chaos, nor can it fall prey to Hikawa's ambitions. But as it stands, there's not much I can do. Even though my goddess has spoken to me, she has yet to reveal her reason. Let me fill you in on what's happening in the park. It all centers around the Yahiro no Himorogi. It's a stone that's filled with an enormous amount of Magatsuhi. It grants its possessor tremendous power. Word spread that the stone is somewhere in Yoyogi Park, and now everyone is trying to claim it for their own. I'm not interested in Magatsuhi, but the stone is rumored to have the power to control even gods. Once I have that power, I'll be worthy of receiving my goddess's reason. However, the stone is currently in someone's possession. I'm not sure who, but I can sense a terrible power emanating from them. Their power is so strong that I wouldn't stand a chance against it, but I think you would. If I promise to give you the Magatsuhi contained inside, will you get the Yahiro no Himorogi for me?
If you're not going for true demon ending, your answer here is significant. Siding more with Yuko will lean more into the neutral ending. Siding against her will lean more into chaos.
Then take this. It's the key to that locked door. Thanks.
But now we have the key to get into Yoyogi. It's prepare yourself for the rest of this video because it's working through it. It hasn't like... I'll explain it as it comes up, but the main gimmick of this place is that the fairies don't want you here. And so they're going to do everything in their power to manually warp you out. And so to avoid that, you've just got to avoid them. Look what we have here, a puny looking stick boy. Alright, pixies, you know what to do. I dare you to step any closer. You think we're scared of you? We'll bump you right out of here. The way it works, you see those overhead bridges in the path ahead? When I start moving, come on past me. The fairies have all gone crazy. If you get too close to them without thinking, you'll be teleported somewhere else. As you go through the path, there are like bridges that will go overhead. Everyone you pass under has the potential to have a fairy over it. But their position is predetermined, it's not random. So if you know where they are, you know where they are. So if you walk under them, they might spot you, hop down, and go, there you are, and they will teleport you away, usually backwards to an earlier point in the dungeon, so you have to work it out. While some bridges don't have them under it, and some areas, as you can see ahead, straight up don't have bridges. So in this instance ahead, this tutorial bit, you want to just go around. You just want to, like, work around it. But now when you go to here, there's a bridge under both, so you've got to know which one there isn't one under. If you come over here, it says there's a soul here that shows there's a construction site. Like the entire Yoyogi Park was being constructed on before everything kicked off, and there are these giant platforms you can climb the ladder for to see over one. I don't go on it now, but I go to one later, so I do show it off this video. Those platforms, if you climb them, you get a bird's eye view, and you can see where the fairies are all staying. You can see where they're all standing around, and you can use that to work out where you are. Oberian here is a higher level than us, so instead of joining our party, he just heals us and calls it a day. Which is a little annoying when you encounter demons that are a higher level than you, because you want to get them on your party. But when you go up ahead, there's an item way up back over here, so make sure to nab that first. And you also get an idea of where you're actually trying to get to in Yoyogi Park. There is... You can't see it from here, but there's a crane. And there's a building underneath that crane, and that's what you're looking for. Well, it's right in front of us, actually. We need to go all the way around. But it's not that easy. If you try and just swing around right now, you obviously won't get there, whereas this dungeon would be over in 2 minutes. And yes, these trolls do count as fairy types. Which were like the mini-boss we fought just before Matador. Which is wild to think it was that long ago already. Annoyingly, they have Dirahan, which is wild, considering they only have like 350 health. Well, they have less health than us. And you're going to see me pause a lot in this dungeon. You're going to see a lot of instances where I stand and look at things. That's because this one, more than any other dungeon up until this point, I did a practice run of and made a lot of notes. Like, I've got it here. If you can hear it. I've got it here. I've made, like, let me have a look. Because I've got some of the later dungeons I recorded as well. I have... Oh, no, that's my notes I made on Obelisk. Right, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages of notes, of written notes I put on that, on Yoyogi Park. So I was reading for it like a book, because I just don't like this dungeon, so I had to make sure I can make the most concentrated path through it as possible. And so I could make it like a direct path that's just exactly where you need to go, exactly where things are. And even then, I still, like, I get lost in my notes, like, in the final stretch. Like, in the very last stretch of this dungeon, there's a bit where, I end up going the wrong route I meant to, and I do, like, a later bit sooner. Because it's just where I was reading along. Well, I'm not completely dyslexic, but I have dyslexic moments. I think that's the easiest way to explain it, because I've talked about it before, that I do have kind of selective dyslexia, is that I can read and write fine. It's reading out loud text in front of me where I just start missing words, or my ability to read starts failing me. It's one of the things that if you've been with my channel for a while, you can work out immediately, because any Idea Factory game I've played, I've stumbled like a million lines. Because those games are very text heavy, and not all of them are voiced, and so I do the voices and talk through it myself. Which, speaking of, I know I keep on mentioning it, but I'm getting more and more excited the closer we get to it. The next major project after Nocturne is going to be Neptunia Reverse. To get some practice in, because I've played Rebirth 1, and it's literally the same game, but with better visuals. And you get to play with a party of 4 instead of a party of 3, which completely disrupts the game's balance, but not in a hideous way. Like, it doesn't break the game in two, but it certainly makes it more, like, much more manageable than the original, because the original Neptunia 1's surprisingly tough, just because it's kind of weirdly balanced. But I'll get to that when we get to it more properly. But it's extra character, clean up in visuals on the arranged mode, which I won't be playing. I'll be playing on original mode, because arranged mode really, that's the one that does break the game in two, because that just unlocks every single character from the start. So you have way too much freedom to make very powerful parties very early on. But you're seeing in this bit here more of what I mean. Like, you're going to see a lot of moments where I start running and I'm like looking at sides and corners as I go by it. And that's because a lot of the times in my notes, I'll say second east turn, or third exit, or past 2 doors, first south route. Like, my notes kind of like that with my note taking. And so when I'm like checking the corners or checking a route that I'm not going down, that's me counting them as I'm going through it, rather than following my notes for the recording. Which might make it slightly more awkward, but it's just me. It's just how I find it easier to read it. Like, everyone has their own way when it comes to note-taking with anything, and that's just how I do it. Because this game always has the compass in the corner, I find it very easy to make notes, because I can just say second south. And like I say, which is what this was. It's second south, cut through middle, south. And get the items. And then after that on the notes, it just says backtrack to door. So now I'll just take the exact route I took back, but now to the door. So that's what I mean, that's how my notes work, but that's what I used for this entirety of this dungeon. And then from there, it was just press west through 2 doors. So the door we just did, and then this one. That long pause there, that was me reading. Yeah, that pause there. I cut, like, any of the major pauses where I really just stand around for ages, I cut out. You're not going to see. But if I stop for just a second to double check a note, I left it in because I was like, well, you can see what I'm doing. I get a luck incense there, which was ironic, like, for the sake of the joke, kind of lucky. Because of how little levels I put into my luck. Which, to be fair, in hindsight, I know it's like the least significant stat, and I still stand by that, but I probably should have put at least like a couple more levels into it than I do throughout the run. Because after I finished the game and started grinding out levels, the severity of loot increase I started getting after I leveled up my luck a few bits kind of caught me off guard. Like, I know it boosted your drop chances and whatnot, but I didn't realize just how significant it starts to like ramp up. Enjoy the waltz and pagantry of the high pixies of our high kingdom are famed for. I think that's the word. That's a unique word to me. Outside of this game, I've never seen it before, so I was like, okay. But immediately break north when you come here, because there's a save room right in front of you, and you're going to be cycling back round to that save room often. Because once you have an idea of it, they start mixing it up. The way the high pixies will work compared to the normal pixies is that they will move, but they move between two positions, a cross position and a diagonal position, where there's 8 spots, there's 8 bridges they'll go under. Huh? The high pixies change positions? There's 8 spots they'll go under, so like the compass points and the in-between compass points, and you can see the glows of where they are. We see a lot, there's 3 on the side, 1 on the end, 1 in front of us, and 3 on the other side, so it's kind of like there's like 8 points circling round. They will either be in a cross formation, so they'll be like in the north, west, east, and south point, or they'll be in a diagonal position where they'll literally be in all the diagonal spots instead. But every time you pass under one where they're not, they will move to the other formation. So like now they're in the cross formation. To get the loot here, you have to deliberately be caught by them under certain bridges, which is where the biggest note take comes. Like you see me, I stop here, I go to press forward, and then after the encounter, I backpedal. So I go, no, actually, I don't think that's the right one. Because my note says go past the stub, which is the stub in front of us. Because there's like a stub in the middle of the road. And it's like, as I read that, I was like, no, it's talking about that stub, the stub on our right, and then this door here. And so even then, I hesitate slightly, because like, when I did my note taking, it was a little before, I took a little break because I still wasn't looking forward to this dungeon. So I did my note-taking, like, practice run, left it for like a day or two, and then came back. So I was still trying to remember as I went along. But what you want to do is go through here, and now they've moved, go back under it. Because when you get caught, it will put you in a position. It will warp you to a position where if you don't move, immediately turn left and go. Don't go under that bridge. There will be a mystic chest in front of you. Which a bead chain's pretty nice. That's a free Mediarahan. And then go under the bridge, because then this will kick you out to the start proper, I believe. Leave her at once. Yeah, this kicks you right back out to the start. So if you just go right again, the save's in front of you. Which I used this save just because then it was easier for me in editing to know I could edit out the dead air, because I sat in that room for a little while just double checking my notes. But just because of the fact that I stopped for so long working out which road I needed to go on, I was like, okay, I need to actually read the fine print of my own note taking, because I'm confusing myself. Because the next thing was go past the knob again, and it's on the right. I'm still hesitating, but I'm still like, is this the right way? They go through again. X formation. And then right at the very end is an item, and you are safe to go get it. You see, like me stumble stepping because I was trying to think that it looks like a trap. When you get rounded, the fact that it's just right there, it looks and feels like a trap. But no, you are safe to go get it. It's just now they're in the X formation, you need to pay attention to what door you go through and where you go through next. You get sacred water, which I believe is a status ailment cure. And now with this one, because they're in the X formation, they're not going to be under this bridge to the east or west. If you go east, it goes back round, so you want to go west. And then once you get here, you're pretty much done with this little section. And there's your item. Oh, 3 medicines. Oh, how generous of them. 150 HP across 3 turns. Nice. So worth it. And the last one... Okay, oh, actually, I need to warn you. There's going to be a point coming up where you're going to see me hug the wall. Like, you're never going to see me go out into the open field, despite there being a lot of space. You're going to see me hug the wall where those doors are. And that's because there's trap teleports. Like, there's, like, trap floors. And if you stand in the wrong spot, it will warp you away. Curse you, how have you made it past all that unscathed? You're naught but a mirthless whelp. But you shall fall into despair this time. I done trashed the platform. It go boom and now it gone. Ha ha ha. And not just that. An entire legion of my finest troops await you. Now you will surely die. Yeah, you're not allowed to use the platform on this one. So you have to actually manually feel it out. But the fairies won't move. There's not like only the high pixies were the ones that move. The ones here will not move. But here is the other door to unlock the other side of the construction site. To unlock the other side of Yoyogi Park, back where we first started. I don't unlock it because I'm coming back here anyway. So I was like, I'll just unlock it when I come back later. But this is the bit. Hug the wall. Don't go into the open plane. The left wall. If you hug the right wall, you'll get screwed because there's debris on the end that will force you to walk into it. You need to hug this wall as you go. Now, in my note, this is my screw up I was talking about earlier, where I just completely misread the note where I missed a line. I missed a line that said go to the furthest door and turn around. I said go to the back wall and then turn around, and then from there it was first door and warp. So when I stepped forward, I wasn't expecting that warp, which is why I'm stuck here now, because I'm like, hang on a minute, what the fuck? Because I just literally missed a line. That's why I go back through the door, because eventually I'm in the mindset of, let me just get out of here and take a step back and work out where I'm supposed to be. I'm just gonna go, okay, I'll press forward, see where that puts me. But these guys warp you into unique locations. They won't just kick you out. So you have to actually learn where every warp links to what. And I just happened to stumble into an item I was going to go for later anyway. So I was like, oh, I guess that works out. But yeah, that was what threw me off. Because I literally missed the line that said go to the back wall, turn around, then do it. So I just saw a first door in my notes and went for that. So now I have to try and work out back out. Because I want to get out. Because I've got the items so I can do the second one. Because the second path is going through the middle. And eventually I get lucky and the warp just kicks me out. So I'm like, okay. So, second door, hug the wall. Oh no, I go all the way to the third? Oh, is this where I went? Was I going off beat of the notes? I must have been going off key. Joke and die, jerk. Yeah, so that just kicks you out if you go there. So now I'm proper resetted. Maybe that's what I was doing. I was trying to go for a proper reset. Like, get out entirely. Because I literally, what I put in the note was go to the end wall, then go to the far door. Because you can pick this up along the way, and then follow the route that I kind of stumbled through to get to that mystic chest. But now we don't need to go for that mystic chest, because I just stumbled into it by accident. But when you're trying to get through here, it's middle. I check my notes again to make sure I don't fuck up, because it's now I was like, after messing it the first time. But it's north. North again. West, I think. Yeah, west. North teleport. No, it's just north. I'm sure there's a teleport you have to tank. Well, there's an item there and there's no bridge, so you're free to go get it. That was why I stopped for a second. I was like, there's no bridge. There can't be a trap floor. I think that's safe. I can go for it. But then, I believe you go back on yourself and then go north again. That's what I have in mind. Oh no, I go south. South again. Oh, I take the teleport here. Yeah, I take the teleport here. Because this puts me in a better position. Right? Come on past me. Help me out. I'm like... When I got to this section, I ended up kind of... Okay, no, I was showing how you're supposed to legit get to the Mystic Chest and not just stumble your way through. From that item, you just keep on going south till it puts you here, essentially. That's what I was trying to do. And then when you leave, you get kicked out. But it leaves you here, so just go south again. And there's the item. This will kick us out. Oh no, it'll put us here, which is actually somewhere we need to be, so we can go west, and we're in this part again. Where we went, like from the middle door, it was the north, 2, and west. It put us there. Oh, and Sadie levels up to her highest level to get to Allure. I say highest level, like the highest skill learning level, but it's a level where I think she evolves on. Yeah, she evolves on this level too. So I let it happen, but with the intention of I was going to get Sati out of the compendium again afterwards. Because we get Parvati. And it's interesting that Parvati's lady clan, like we went from Megami, you know, the highest like angelic one to lady, like we stepped down. But Parvati is kind of nice as well. Parvati learns a lot of decent skills. Like you can see there, Mediarama, like tier 2 group-wide healing. And I can't remember if she learns a Dine. I think she learns a Dine. But from there it's north, north. And you're out. But you'll see when you're done with the main gimmick, assuming you don't take that door to the right as we pass by. This is me like checking the map and checking notes as well, and just making sure I'm still on top of everything. That there in front of us, that shutter, that's the end. That's the end of the. That's where the boss is hiding. But you'll notice it's been a little while since a save. There is a save here, but you just got to go a little out of the way for it. When you get to the shutter, then make a right, and there's a little path that like takes 30 seconds to get through, and there's a save at the end of that. Go take that, because the boss here might catch you off guard. And it does for a lot of people, because you can't bring physical. The boss, to jump the gun, the boss here reflects physical. So you can only use magic to hurt it. So you try and punch it or do any physical attack full stop, it will bounce back at you and you'll lose all your press turns. So your only option is to have magic. Like I said, this boss is a magic check. That's entirely what it is. It's there to make sure you actually have more versatility in your party. I still highly recommend you make Demi-Fiend physical only because of how powerful it is. Just make sure you have magic party members with you. Make them make up the difference that Demi doesn't have. And to be fair, that's the first of like 3 like magic checks. Like the later magic checks, like the second one I don't think is as annoying, even though it has its own problems. And the last one is extremely annoying. But we'll get to that when we get to it. But I save here and start working my way back. I'll say it's a simple run. Do I make it all in one go? Of course I don't. So I wanted to see. I thought that turn was sooner than it was, but no, the comms tower's up here. And when you only enter when you're ready, because it's technically 2 bosses in a row when you go to it, but the second boss is very easy.
Here we go again. Another visitor here for the plunder. But of all people, you really should have known better. Coming here was a mistake. I guess you'll find out firsthand what happens to those who try to wrest my Magatsuhi away. Like that girl who showed up not long before you. I had to teach her a lesson. A quite painful one, I might add. Didn't I tell you before? I don't plan on being used by demons. With all my Magatsuhi, I'll be the one using them. Not just any demons. Even the most powerful ones. Speaking of which, that skin of yours will make a nice coat.
Right, the gimmick with Elephant Man here is that, like I said, he reflects physical damage. So your only option is magic in harming him. Magic, whether it be elemental or non-elemental. So because I know that this fight is going to take a little longer, because no one can hit as hard as Demi-Fiend, but Demi-Fiend only has access to physical, I settle in for the long run, so I start boosting other things. I use focus there because I forgot that focus is only physical. I completely forgot that it's there's no concentration in this game. There's no magic boost like there is with physical. There's only focus, and it only does physical. And to be fair, that's fine, because if there was a magic equivalent of, the balance of this game would go out the window, because the balance of the game is built around how effective yet extensively limiting magic is. Which is why physical has such like providence. But there's me showcasing that, yeah, it completely reflects physical. You can't do it. Thankfully, this thing has panic voice, which if you once again, if you have the ultimate trooper that is Daisojo, like I said, he's such a friend for life, this guy, you're gonna do fine, because the boss is gonna give up press turns for it. And now we can begin our very slow assaults. Most of the rest of this video is against this guy. But there are 2 bosses here. The moment you kill him, the fight doesn't end. Instead, Sakahaki will show up and you will fight him. but he's an extremely easy fight. He's literally just there because this is the end of that character's story, and he's got to die. So you're going to kill him because he's one of the two Asakusa plot points that are getting wrapped up. There's two like real plot points, and it's why there was that fork in the road when you first got there, and you had to experience both, because they were more effectively introducing both story arcs of the mannequins. The first one ends here, and the second one will have its twists and turns later on, where we spend more time with Futomimi. But slightly annoyingly, for how much of a stretch this fight could become anyway, he has access to both Beast Eye and Dekunda, so he can get rid of the nurse you would have put on him, and he can give himself more turns to just stretch things out even further. Which is why I end up kind of relying to just the raw power tactic to an extent. Like, I'll still nerf him from place to place, but I don't push for it completely, because it's like, well, it gets to a point where it feels like it's not worth it. There's a couple of bosses later on where even though they might Dekunda or Dekaja a lot, it's still extremely in your favor to spam on the assault. So I Dekaja to get rid of its Kaja effect, so it did buff itself, to which it responds by Beast Eyeing and trying to blight us. Which blight is physical attack with a chance of poison. And its crit rate isn't too high, but it's high enough that you'll notice the odd one. But its hit rate isn't great. And I think it's because of the whole poison factor as well, that they just made it so its hit rate isn't the best. So you can exploit that severely to make it more favourable for you. And unfortunately, I don't have any magic boosting. I have physical boosting, but that's worthless. So Demi-Fiend is kind of wasted in this fight. Like, I can't really do anything, because I got rid of Tornado, and I shouldn't have. I got rid of Tornado like a touch too soon, because I wanted Endure, and Tornado is just the next logical stat to get rid of. And like, Tornado is just the next logical skill to get rid of for me, because all the rest I think still had more relevance to me at that point. But oh well. This hindsight's 2020, I suppose. But like I said, this fight really isn't difficult. It's a magic check, but that's kind of it. It's just there to make sure you have actually got magic users and have been spending time making more diversity and aren't just making a bunch of punches. Because if you come in with only punching people here with no magic usage, you'll never win this fight. I'm saying it's the first of like, I said it's probably more top of my head, but they're not big. There's three big ones. It's this one, it's the next Fiend we're fighting, and it's sort of a boss we'll fight in the final dungeon of the game. They're the three I'm talking about, so if you're following along, you know what I mean when I say that, because when I say one of the bosses in the final dungeon, you guys probably, if you've played the game, you know exactly what boss I'm talking about. It's the one that becomes a magic check. And it's like one of the most annoying bosses in the game. In fact, I'd even go as far to say it's the worst boss in the game, in my opinion. So I just don't enjoy it. It just takes forever. But as I always say, one thing at a time. This guy doesn't have too much health. It just feels like a lot because of how little damage we're doing, because we only have access to magic and I haven't got any magic boosting on me. And because I know going defense-wise will only work against me, so you'll just Dekunda it later, I end up like just putting up with the long haul for most part. I just put up with it and go, alright, you'll die eventually. Even if this video is 55 minutes long. To be fair, the rest of this video isn't the fight. There's a cutscene. Once we're done, there's a cutscene that we see just as we leave, and then the video is done. But it's like at this point, when I was recording, I was looking for my session recording, and I was like, this video might be long. And it was. When the recording, when I first put it, the entire session into the project folder, it was like an hour and 25 minutes. And there's just cutting encounters that took a while, and cutting all the times while I was sitting around doing nothing, checking my notes for like a 30 seconds. Managed to bring it down to this length. Thankfully. And there is a cutscene, another cutscene that's at the start of the next video that I was originally considering putting in this one, but I decided to eventually put it in the other one just because this video was long enough. It would have put it to 58 minutes long, and I was like, no, come on. It's bad enough that this is 55 minutes. This is going to take a while to even render. I don't want to put even more stress on it if I can help it. Like, when I remember how much of a monster it was to get the 1 hour long video of Final Fantasy XII uploaded, and I remember how much of a juggernaut monster that was, the last thing I want is to do it when it's doing it at double the frame rate at 1080p. That was 720 at 30, like 1080 at 60, like, even though this game is locked at 30, and I know why it's locked at 30, it's something that's kind of common with a fair number of PS2 games, unfortunately. It's because mechanics and features and systems in the game are directly tied to the frame rate. So if they up the frame rate, it would fuck everything. So like they have it locked to 30 in almost every situation. The biggest thing that's locked to the frame rate is your encounter rate. Your encounter rate will skyrocket if you force the frame rate to go higher. And so instead of trying to like spend the extra effort fixing it so they could make it at 60, they left it at 30. And for the simple reason of it's a turn-based JRPG, that really doesn't bother me. It's only in like more technical games, I think it's the best way to put it. Like if a Devil May Cry came out at 30, like the reboot, it feels rough, it feels different, and it doesn't feel like you have the level of consistency you need to make it better. But with like fighting games like that, I don't think there's, off the top of my head, I can't think of a single fighting game that was not 60 frames, outside of maybe like some early 3D ones, like some super early 3D games, like maybe like Tekken 1 or 2 maybe wasn't at 60. But now the boss is dead, that's it. You get this second encounter where Sagahaki shows up, and this guy's a joke. Compared to the boss we just done, this guy is not difficult. If you're playing hard type, however, this guy's the main event. They flipped it round. They made the first fight kind of not that bad, and they made this guy have a shit ton of health and skills on him. Like hard type just decided to completely flip the table on it.
That Magatsuhi to summon that demon, and look what happened! Enough of this! Anyone who gets in my way dies!
Yeah, good luck with that, dude. I don't think you know who you're dealing with. It's something that I very much love getting into the mindset of as you get into late game. Eventually you get that kind of like Kazuma Kiryu mentality of every enemy that comes your way. It's like, hey, you're a little bitch, I'm gonna kill you. And in your mind you're just sitting there with like a slight smugness of, you don't stand a fucking chance, mate. You do get to a point in Nocturne. It's one of the most satisfying things about every Shin Megami Tensei game. For how hard they are, when you get powerful, you feel powerful because of how difficult the game is. So when you start not only like beating the odds, even when the enemy's going, I'll kill you and I will easily defeat you, when you start beating the odds but doing it without much thought, it's so satisfying. Look at how little damage this son of a bitch is doing. He's dead. That's it. That's the fight. He's dead. He put up no fight at all. He wasn't a challenge. He's gone now. Goodbye. And you get 14,000 experience off of it, which is pretty nice. I put it straight into vitality. Oh, sure. Please don't do anything bad. Oh, of course it does something bad. Late game, it feels like I never get anything good out of the Magatamas. But thanks for the disc poison, I suppose. But we got what we came here for. But it's entirely dried up. The Yaharo no Himorogi. However, the power of the Magasuhi seems to be absent from it. If you're going for the neutral ending, this item will have more significance, but if not, this thing's going to fade out of significance very quickly. But you see, it kind of leaves you here, and you're going to see a slight cut, because I forgot that there's a cutscene as soon as you go to walk. So I was just going to cut back to the save terminal, but as soon as I take a step, suddenly there's a cutscene. Ugh, I had a weird dream. In my dream, I was a very bad demon, Hiho. No, it was not a dream. It was all Sakahagi's doing. We have been cursed by Sagahagi and reduced to our primitive nature. Demi-Fiend, I beg you, forgive us our discourtesy. You may take the Yahiro no Himorogi as you please. It is a sign of our utmost gratitude. By the by, before we were cursed, a human girl came here. She was beaten by Sakahagi, yet somehow survived and limped to safety. But I felt an evil power emanating from her heart, something even stronger than that of Sakahagi. That girl is far from ordinary. Oh, excuse me, that was rather irrelevant. As of now, we shall take our leave. You have our appreciation. Do put the blah blah to good use. They weren't talking about Yuko. They were talking about Shiaki. She was here, so we got to go find her later because that's going to lead into more of her story stuff of her quest for power. But we'll learn more about that next time. So until then, you guys take care now. Peace.